As the CEO, sometimes you have to eat crow. I distinctly remember an all associates call in the beginning of March, in March 2020. I told everyone, don't get used to this. At some point we're going to be back in the offices. We've already got an outlay, we've got leases and things like that are out there that, we've got a footprint across the country that we've got to sort of maintain. So fast forward. The vast majority of the country has realized, we can do this pretty well from working from home, and our company is in pretty much that same line. In fact, for this whole pandemic, we've been, as an organization, have been really fortunate that we've been able to, in retrospect, been able to keep everyone employed and have actually probably increased about 6% or so in size over the time. We're a little different than a lot of those heavily hit, really customer-centric organizations. There's been a lot of work and turmoil on that side, but we've been somewhat sheltered from that just because of the type of work we do and where we're positioned. Our work has changed. We've been able to effectively move everyone to a work-from-home environment. And we were fortunate to be able to do that quickly because we had invested in the technology, long ago to prepare, ironically, for disaster. But we were thinking more of a hurricane or wildfires or other types of things there, not necessarily, a little virus that's kind of buzzing around. So we'd already had the infrastructure in place to be able to do that. We'd never really tested it full scale. But after a few tests and all that, we realized, okay, we do have enough bandwidth and capacity and resources, and everyone already had laptops and things like that to be able to work from home. The next step would be, would we be able to actually continue performing our work? And for a while, there was kind of touch and go. A lot of the work that we do requires a lot of interaction with providers that are out there in the community. And for the federal types of contracts, even though it's program integrity, fraud, waste, and abuse, doing a lot of data analytics, on occasion, we still have a high-touch component that we send individuals out to verify site locations, to get records from physicians and providers and other types of things to verify those documents. So we've actually moved all those to essentially an electronic format. So we would do, instead of sending on-site investigators and things like that. But there are two other components that are out there that we still balance. One is corporate culture and also that footprint that I mentioned before. Now, the office footprint is, we've got a facilities team that's been very proactive on this. I was figuring, oh man, we're going to be stuck with all this space that's out there. But my team said, no, you know what? A lot of people that are larger than us are going to be looking for the size that we have and downsize. If we kind of put it out on the market or let our current tenant or our leasers know, that from some of those spaces we're looking at downsizing, they may be able to move us to a smaller size, and then someone else can backfill into that size that we are. Still a lot of companies a lot larger than we are that would be able to take advantage of that space. And in some cases, we've already reduced the size for about 3 or 4 offices. We have 2 more that we're evaluating right now. So we're kind of right-sizing into a smaller environment. The thing that concerns me most is how do you maintain culture? Part of the reason we were successful or able to, to move to a remote environment is because there were already relationships between individuals. They knew how they worked. They know how to get in touch with each other, how to contact one another, what they're thinking, and kind of that bonding and rapport that's already existed from years of kind of tied in and working together, being in the trenches together. So when you separate them out, they still have those relationships and they can build on that. The challenge that comes in is that when you start bringing new people into that mix, they don't have that opportunity to form those relationships necessarily in a personal basis. Yes, you can do it virtually, but there are some things that you do virtually that you can't necessarily replicate at this point or some things you can do face-to-face that you can't do virtually. The conversations where you're learning more about kids or people's families, their kids, graduation, and all that. It's harder to do when you have that kind of structured, virtual environment, and then people are kind of communicating with a set agenda. It takes away that kind of bonding and getting the sense of, what are my unknown ties or whatever with my peers and colleagues, and or that relationship that what kind of trials and tribulation that they're going through. So that part is the part that's hard to recreate, and how do you ensure it continues to grow and expand so that new people coming in feel that they're connected with their team and their peers as well, and that's going to be the challenge. My sense as the economy as a whole, we're seeing states, federal government, corporate and private sector starting to focus or turn their focus towards contracting of regular business again. So it's not, before, for about 18 months or so, everything was on hold. All the procurements kind of stopped unless it was an emergency procurement related to the pandemic. We're actually seeing a lot more procurement type activity starting to get back to normal types of things, getting back onto the regular schedule of work that was going on. Part of that I think is also intentional to start getting cash flow back into the economy and things like that. From the other side of things, we have a substantial investment part of our organization that's of retained earnings that through grants and other types of things. Quite frankly, the stock market has been going through the roof. So on that side, if that's an indicator of some of the other businesses and what's going on in the country or in the world, there's some indication that there's solid footing for continued growth there. During this period, we've evaluated 4 opportunities for acquisitions. So we're looking at either acquiring or pursuing other contracts within this area, or expanding beyond our current footprint into other contracting areas as well. We're right after Labor Day. We're trying to make sure everyone can get through the summer, schools open back up, and kind of help with transition. We know that some of our competitors and others are looking at opening as early as this month or immediately or even July 1st with the fiscal year. We've already made a decision. We want to wait till after the summer, let some of that kind of balance out, and so that families can get adjusted to whatever this new normal is going to be moving forward. So we're